So yeah, hello everyone. Welcome to Sitecore User Group India. I would like to introduce the speaker Kiran Patil. So he has 10 plus years of industry experience and currently works as a group technology director at Horizontal Digital. And he has been awarded the Sitecore Technology MVP title for 10 years in a row. So now let's talk about a bit today's session. So Kiran will be presenting us a presentation on the Sitecore CDP Basics. This session will help us understand the fundamental concepts of Sitecore CDP. Why do we need it and how to get started. The session will include the product demos as well. And if you have any questions during the session, please drop it into the chat window. We will discuss those at the end of the session. Over to you, Kiran.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kushbu and the Sitecore User Group India team. I feel nostalgic because I did the first session with the Sitecore User Group India, might be 8-9 years back. And this is kind of 33rd session. So yeah, thanks to everyone for keeping this group alive. So yeah, Kushbu has done a quick introduction, but I still just go through the high level. I've been working as a group tech director at Horizontal Digital's MN office in the 15 years in the industry, 13 years working on the Sitecore platform, 9 years at Horizontal, and Sitecore Technology MVP for 10 years, as Kushbu already mentioned. And the first Sitecore MVP from India, and I blog at this particular blog post URL. And Covio, I've also been known as Covio MVP and the first Sitecore CDP certified developer in the world. Awesome. So this is the first session as part of the 4-session series, which we'll be conducting. So today's session is mainly focusing around Sitecore CDP Basics. But if you would like to know more about Sitecore Personalize or Sitecore CDP decision modeling and the segmentation, please make sure that you bookmark these dates and plan these dates in your calendar and plan to attend those. They are with the various different user groups. So make sure that you, if you are interested in those topics, feel free to join those. So let's start the session with the basics because that matters for any technology we are learning. So why does Sitecore CDP and Personalize matters? Because the whole world have been running without it. So why do we need to learn about it? At the same time, why this new product needs to be explored? So first and foremost thing is true omni-channel integration. Because now each brand has multiple touch points, mobile app, website, kiosk, and they're kind of an offline experience and stores and everything. Within legacy platforms which we are using, it's hard to achieve that true omnichannel experience. And that problem is solved using the Sitecore CDP and Personalize because it's all API-based integration. So once you build the personalization experience or the CDP configuration, that can be consumed by all your channels and the touch points. So that gives you a true omnichannel integration. Second thing is smart decisioning. Earlier approach is if you have to, if as a marketer I have to configure something, I have to still rely on developers. But here, Sitecore CDP becomes the decisioning engine where a marketer can drag and drop and configure things without being heavily involved on the development team. And then the last and most important thing is the first party cookie. Somewhere around January 2022, 2020, Google mentioned that they are going to block third-party cookies due to various reasons. And then each application has to rely on the first-party cookie. So with that change, I think Apple also followed the same change, and they also are going to block the third-party cookies. Now, when the third-party cookies are blocked, which something the earlier implementation were using, you cannot track the user and cannot provide the personalized experience. So with this first-party cookie approach, which CDP implements, you can still provide the personalized experience without violating the rules. This is the diagram, and this is a very important diagram to understand Sitecore CDP and Sitecore Personalize high level. Again, we'll not go into Sitecore Personalize topics today. We have upcoming sessions to discuss about that. Let's talk about the side. Let's understand this diagram from left to right. So let's start from the left side. So CDP is here, which is a customer data platform. You can ingest the data in the CDP using three mechanisms: the streaming API, the interactive API, and the batch API. And they each has a different use case. So let's talk about the streaming API. When you want to track users, like which pages that they are using, which pages they like which kind of products they added in the cart, you be using a streaming API. This is basically, there are a couple of ways to use the streaming API. One is JavaScript. You add a JavaScript code and then you can integrate that. Other is kind of server side streaming. There are some scenarios where you cannot do a JavaScript, then you can do the server side streaming as well. And the other scenario is interactive. Let's say if you are building a commerce application, and as part of that, once someone places an order doesn't get, like, there is a different fulfillment system built by your company, and that's something ships the order. So as soon as the order is shipped or fulfillment is done, you would like to send the data to CDP that, hey, order has been shipped. You can use the interactive API. And then the batch, when you have kind of an larger data and you'd like to kind of import that data into the system, you use the batch API. In today's session, we are going to explore this too and going to see the demo for this too. In the last session, we'll be exploring this one. Once you have this CDP data, now you have the customer's golden record where you know about the customer from all the touch points you have. So once you have that, you can do a lot of things. The first thing is decisioning, where you can configure the visual rules, the business rules using the visual designer, where you can provide the best next action for the user. And the good part here is it also can connect to any of your API or any kind of a public API using the connection, which again we'll see in the third session. And you can also integrate it with AI. If you have any kind of AI service, you can also connect to that. And then you can also connect to Content Hub DAM to fetch the assets and leverage that data what you have. The last piece is omnichannel experiences. Once you have all this data, and now it's time to leverage the data to provide that experience. So you can configure the experiences or experiments, which we'll explain in the next session. You can provide the personalized experience. There are few ways to do it. One is the triggered experience, which means that if something happens, configure a trigger. For example, if someone abandons the cart, you'd like to send them an email that, hey, you abandoned the cart, but we have an offer for you. Would you like to purchase an item? So you can do that, and you can do that on various activation channels. It's a website, web push, call center, email, social, mobile messaging, and even a Salesforce Marketing Cloud. You can integrate with that. And you can also sync the data. The use case here is you have this data and you would like to configure and segment for those data. For example, if give me the user who have purchased Apple Watch 7 recently, so I can give them an offer to purchase a charger plug. Because I am Apple, I don't provide the charger plug. So that kind of a scenario we can do. And then in the interactive one, where someone is visiting the website and you'd like to provide some personalized experience, you can do that using the interactive experience. So that's the overall, this diagram explains the overall Sitecore CDP Sitecore personalized capabilities at a high level. Feel free to post questions in the chat and we'll go through that. We have some time reserved in the end. Now, that diagram shows the full picture. And if we try to break it down, the Sitecore CDP, it provides these capabilities. As we will be discussing in the upcoming slides, these products can be purchased together. So you can purchase Sitecore CDP and Sitecore Personalize together, or you can purchase only Sitecore CDP or only Sitecore Personalize. So and you can also purchase that together. So these products are not kind of an full bundle, and obviously that's the beauty of the composable world we are going to live in, where you can procure the system which you want and leverage the system you have. For example, if your company has already invested in Salesforce CDP, you can leverage the Salesforce CDP and then connect with the Sitecore Personalize. That's absolutely possible. So this is what Sitecore CDP provides. So from this diagram, if you look at this diagram, only stream, interactive, and batch, and then some sync of the segment can be done using Sitecore CDP. If you look at Sitecore Personalize, there are a few things still available with Sitecore Personalize for the CDP, but there are some limitations which will not go in this session. But even with Sitecore Personalize, you can ingest some data, but there are some limitations which you'll not have because you don't have CDP license. But still, you can have the basic data ingestion done. And then same, you can create some triggers or interactive experiences. And decisioning model is part of Sitecore Personalized product. So let's look at this diagram again. And when you have been reading or listening some sessions, you might be listening a couple of things like Sitecore CDP, Sitecore Personalize, Sitecore CDP and Personalize, Smart Hub CDP. Everything is kind of relatively same. It depends on which SKU of the product you have purchased. So if someone is saying Sitecore CDP, they might really mean Sitecore CDP and Personalize both. So when you are talking to someone, make sure that you clarify that hey, are you talking about Sitecore CDP only or Sitecore Personalize and CDP both? And when you use the both, you can also call it Smart Hub CDP. And these are the kind of terms which Sitecore also use. So when you are interacting with Sitecore support or Sitecore account representative, make sure that you clarify that if you are using Sitecore Smart Hub CDP, which means you have purchased both the products, CDP and Personalize both. So Sitecore CDP as a one product, you can understand every user and uncover trends with the data-powered customer and journey insights. That's what Sitecore CDP is. Sitecore Personalize optimize every customer interaction with omnichannel A/B testing, decisioning, personalization, and then Sitecore Smart Hub CDP. It combines both, and then you can provide the combined the full omnichannel experience. And this Smart Hub CDP, this term is not kind of an coined by Sitecore. It is provided by the Gartner rules, and then Gartner has particular rules that you cannot call your system Smart Hub CDP unless it mitigates some criteria. And Sitecore Smart Hub CDP is already mitigating those criteria. That's why we can easily call it Smart Hub CDP. So that's a generic term, and Sitecore CDP and Personalize is implementing that term. This is a diagram which I'm sure most of us have seen this. This is the future of Composable at Sitecore. As we were talking earlier, we all mostly have implemented this, the PaaS architecture, the monolithic architecture, where you have the experience platform, which has everything, the XDB and everything built into it. But now with the composable architecture, you can choose and pick, and you don't have to lock in by a particular vendor. So as I was discussing earlier, if your company wants to only invest in Sitecore CDP, they can invest here, and they want to like to use, for example, Salesforce Interaction Studio, they can use the Salesforce Interaction Studio to connect and provide the personalization experience. And then obviously you can also mix and match with other products. So now let's move into the Sitecore CDP data modeling, how that data modeling works. And this slide is very important because when you have to understand how Sitecore CDP data modeling works, that will help you understand to implement something from the CDP side and personalized side. So the first and foremost thing, this data model is very flexible and extensible. The custom data is added to as data extensions. So by default, you have the guest, that's the main entity. And then one guest can have multiple orders, and each order can have multiple order lines, and same with sessions. Each visit is considered as session behind the scenes, and then each session can have multiple events. So let's say if you are visiting a page or you are clicking something, that is registered as an event. This is the view which shows behind the scenes data, and I will show you like how you can view this information from the Sitecore CDP dashboard for the portal. But when you are providing or designing some experience, usually I go into this view and just try to see what has been stored, and then based on that, you can easily understand what's going on. So think of this is your database of all the interactions, and then you can design your experience based on that. So understanding this data model will surely help you when you are creating your experiences or experiments. The second key concept in the Sitecore CDP is identity resolution, because each customer, when they land on the website, they are anonymous customer. They are not provided any identity. So again, if you go back to Sitecore uh, XTB days, we used to call it unknown contact. So visitor is basically unknown contact. And then as soon as they provide the identity information, for example, like email address, loyalty, or unique business number, this is also known as deterministic identity, then that uh, customer visitor becomes customer. And in the old days, we used to call it unknown contact to the known contact. So the visitor becomes customer. And then the beauty of the system is you can configure what is your identity and what are those rules from the portal, and we can see that in some time. Now you might be thinking that if I provide an email address from the website, then only Sitecore CDP identifies me and resolves my identity. No, that's not true. Uh, One source is website for sure. When you pass an identity, for example, in this example, if someone is visiting the website and you trigger a special type of event, identity event, so type should be identity, and you provide an email address, and when you provide that, CDP will look into that, like, hey, is there any uh, customer or visitor with this particular browser ID? If yes, then try to connect that record, and going forward, if someone provides the same email address, it will merge the contact. Now, the second source is, let's say if you are also doing a batch import file, which runs every 24 hours, it will also apply the same identity rules while the import is going on. It will look into this email address, and I assume that your email address is your identity rule, then it will ingest the data in that. So from whatever source you are ingesting the data, the identity rules will be executing, and it will be resolving the identity. So let's talk about how to do a Sitecore CDP integration. So there are various ways. In this example, I'm going to show you a JavaScript integration approach. So here is your browser, and you have to just add a JavaScript, like the way you add that JavaScript, like for if you have to integrate Google Analytics, you add some JavaScript code. The similar code you have to just integrate, and then your Sitecore CDP streaming integration is done with some basic information. So whenever the browser opens, it requests the page from the Sitecore XM website. The HTML response is sent, and then uh, obviously in this response, you'll have your JS tag, which is provided by Sitecore CDP system, which we'll see in in a while. And then once the JS tag request happens, it will reach out to Sitecore CDP system, and then you'll have the interaction data being streamed and ingested to the Sitecore CDP system. And we'll see the demo. So if you don't understand the diagram, that's fine. We'll see a demo, so you'll understand it better. So yeah, with that said, let's just move to the demo. And that should answer a lot of questions you might have. So this is the website, which I have demo website in my local, and I'll also try to zoom so it doesn't cause any pain to your eyes. And then this is my Sitecore sandbox. This is provided by Sitecore. So if you are Sitecore partner, you can reach out to Sitecore and they can provide your partner sandbox access. Just let them know that, hey, I need a partner sandbox access, and they'll provide you this partner sandbox access. This is shared environment and can be used by any partner. So obviously it has a lot of data, and at times it also gets slow because now people are kind of doing a lot of experiments here, which is good. I also have another sandbox, which is the horizontal sandbox. And I have more rights here, like admin rights. So I can show you some of the screens. So I'll show you that. So when I'm moving to this particular URL, that means I'm into horizontal sandbox. And if I'm viewing this URL, that means I'm on the Sitecore sandbox. So now let's start a journey. So we have this website. which demonstrate the Sitecore CDP capabilities. So now I'm a user and I'm visiting the website. Obviously, someone has configuring something, and that's why this experience is loading, which we'll see in the next slide. But now I'm visiting as an user, anonymous user, and I'd like to just get the ID. So you just go to, okay, just press F12 key, which opens the developer tools in your Chrome, and you type box ever dot get ID. This will provide you the current unique ID assigned to this particular visit, because as I mentioned, we started the fresh incognito, so fresh visit. So now, if you go back to the system, we write BID, which is box server ID colon, because Sitecore CDP was earlier box server product, and now it has been renamed as a box server. So BID, box server ID. So when you press that ID, it will show you this particular anonymous visitor visited 1 minute ago, which means that visitor is us visiting the website. Now, when you click on that, it will load this particular screen, and usually it is very fast. But as I mentioned, this sandbox has been used by a lot of developers, including me, and then we have done a lot of people have done a lot of experiments on this one. So I let this load, and somehow machine knows when you are screen sharing, it tries to go slow. But while this is loading, let me see if there is any question. Okay, no question so far. It's good. Okay, so we have this profile loaded. So the first screen here shows that, hey, this guy is a visitor who is kind of an unknown contact yet. And this person is online, which means connected to the website. And then the first scene is today. This is their activity heat map. This is the afternoon time. I've been active, which is their device. And the segments, once you have more data, this heat map will provide more information like when I am more active. So if I'm targeting for premium customer, I can provide the experience or design the experience based on that. So now I have this particular visit being recorded here. So I visited the home page. It is getting recorded here. Now let's go back to the website. Let's visit another page, which is a login page. And if I go back to the interaction timeline, it shows that I'm on the login page. Now let's visit the other page, products page. And if I go back and refresh the screen, it shows me I visited the products page. So how to integrate this particular data streaming using JavaScript? So you can visit the developer documentation from here. So click on this and then it will open developer documentation. From here, you can reach out to this integrating site with Sitecore CDP using JavaScript. This is the overview process, which we already discussed, so I'll not go through that. This is the JavaScript tagging example for web pages. You can copy this script, and then again, if you follow the Sitecore main layout standards and everything, you copy paste that script in the main layout you have. So in this one, again, this site is not a Sitecore site. I'll discuss about the Sitecore integration. This is my simple ASP.NET website for simplicity. So here I have copy pasted the code. And once you copy paste the code, there are a few things you need to change. The client key will be available from the API access. So if you mouse over here, system settings API access, here you will be getting the API access key, which needs to be provided as a client key. Then target is basically your target endpoint. One thing I like to highlight here is there are 3 geographical locations where your CDP instance can be hosted: Europe, Asia, in United States. So when you request your Sitecore CDP environment from Sitecore, make sure that you let them know that, hey, I need that environment from to be set up in Europe or Asia or United States based on your client, and then to avoid latency issues. And how to identify where your instance is uh, based on the URL. So if it is api.boxever.com, that's in Europe. If it is AP-Southeast, that's in Asia. And then if it is API-US, that means the US. It's a US-based instance. So that's how you can identify the endpoint. The simple thumb rule I follow is, if whenever I logged in and access the dashboard, whatever URL I have, that's my endpoint. And that's what you need to provide here. And then cookie domain, basically your site's domain. The JavaScript library version, you can see that current version is 1.4.9. So you can use based on your need. Then point of sale. The point of sale is basically, think of it as a container for all the information. So you can configure the point of sale. So let's say if you are configuring the experience for web and mobile, you can have point of sale as like web as one point of sale and mobile as another point of sale, and then you can provide the experience. So just need to configure the point of sale, and then this timeout is basically a session timeout. After how many minutes you would like to make your session timeout, that something can be configured from here. So here I have configured my session to be expired in 20 minutes. So that's a value of point of sale. From partner sandbox system settings, point of sale, you can configure it here. And then webflow target is one URL you will get from the system. Just need to configure that. And then once you have that, you can start pushing the data using this particular mechanism where you have the browser ID, which is something you just use the boxer.getID, which is a function as part of the JavaScript which you are imported. Then channel type is important. Type is basically the event type which you are ingesting the data. Language, currency, and everything is important. And then the POS value is what we configured earlier. And then you push that data to to the Boxever system using this particular method call. So you can send this data using different way. So let's say if you have some kind of data coming from the DOM value, like let's say you have text box and you want like to provide that value, you can just get that against kind of a standard JavaScript thing. So that's how you integrate. And then once you integrate that, so here what we have done is, again, here I'm using some constants too, because those are coming from the config file, but you can use like Sitecore settings and Sitecore configurations, stuff like that. And here I'm ingesting the data, and then I'm just doing some string manipulation to get the page title, and then ingesting that data here. So once I added that code in my main layout, which is kind of shared layout in ASP.NET, it has started ingesting the data. So that's about data ingestion. Now let's talk about the second part, which is identity. So identity is basically, as we've seen here, this user, let's just get the ID again, F12 console boxever.getID. And then from the system, you can, we'll go back to this user, and that person is still anonymous. So now to resolve an identity, we need to trigger an identity event. Now, how can I see like what information I need to provide to resolve an identity? You can access the current identity configuration from system settings, company information, and click on this small clock icon, which will show you the configuration for your identity. So this shows that, hey, for your system, the identity configuration is email. So you have to pass this email. And once you pass this email, that will be used as an identity resolver. And it can be, let's say, for example, if you don't want to use email because that's an PII data, You can also use like loyalty ID. For example, if you are building a loyalty system integration, you can configure that, and you cannot modify. Again, in the older version, you could not modify this. You had to always request Sitecore support or the Sitecore point of contact, and they could configure this for you. But there has been a recent change a couple of weeks ago where you can make that change on your own, where you go to system settings and click on this option, which is the new option, identity rules. And that's the beauty of the SaaS system. You don't need to do any version upgrade. You have all these features easily available as soon as they release the feature. So here, you can configure identity rules to help you identify your customers. So this is the rule which has been configured here, that my identity provider is email. I can add more rules here. Let's say if I have to configure my identifier provider as, sorry, and then I can provide the value here, and then you can easily configure this one. But that's a recent feature where you can configure identity rules. But in this system, it is already configured, and email is our identifier. So let's go back to the demo. So in this demo, what I have is I have built a simple kind of dummy login where, let's say, Sugin demo is my user, then Sugin demo at demo.com. So now I will click on login. We say successful login. Again, this is a dummy login. So now if I go back to the system and refresh the screen, this should identify the user because I have provided the entity information. Go back and start from the guest screen. So now I should see that customer information and all the email information I provided with some additional data like username and all those things, which is kind of hard coded for now. But think of a scenario where someone is doing a sign up first time. As soon as the sign up button is clicked, you can ingest all the data and trigger an identity event, which will ingest the data and identify the user and resolve an identity for the user. So how to configure identity? So for that, I have this login page configured. So let's look at what code has been added here. So as soon as the submit button click happens, I'm posting some kind of calling an API to trigger and to pass some data to backend. That's not important. The important part is this one, where I'm pushing some data. The key thing here is the identity, and that type is identity. That's what is important here. And obviously other things are standard. You have to make sure that you provide the same POS, and then all the other data, as I mentioned, is hard coded. But this in real world, this will come from your sign up form. The other important thing here is which is resolving the identity is email. So it is looking at this particular field, and based on this email, it is resolving me as particular user. So two important things which you need to pass: the identity and the email. And then you just push the data, and that's how the identity has been resolved. And now the same user, and if you can go back and look at the system, it says that I viewed this many pages, and then the guest identifier is Sugin demo. So now whenever I provide the email address, all the records will be merged into this particular profile. And I also have the properties. So properties tab is also important, which provides all the information in the system. And as I mentioned, I can also have additional data. So for example, if I need some additional data like feedback submitted or something like that, I can create a data extensions and submit that data, which you'll see in the future sessions. And then you can also look at this event debug, where you can look at all the information here about the particular event for this particular user. Now, this particular flag will not be visible to you automatically. For that, you have to go to Partner Sandbox and then Feature Flags with your name and then Feature Flags. When you click on that, you need to enable this debug option. As soon as you enable the debug option, you will start seeing that small icon, which basically will help you debug the information. So we are talking about the Sitecore CDP data model, where you would like to see the customer order and all those things. So if you have that feature enabled, you can access that. So let's look at it here, because this will load fast. This is also loaded. Okay. So this is the data which you see, the kind of behind the scenes data. Once you have this particular debug feature enabled, you can convert this to a JSON. So now this shows me a JSON data. And as you're talking about this, like each user's visit is recorded as session. So each sessions you are visiting is kind of a part of sessions array. And then each session can have multiple events. And then it can have orders and everything once you have the orders. But all these visits which I've been doing is part of the events array. So if you understand this, it'll be easy for you to troubleshoot anything. And obviously, if there are any issues happening, something is not working, this is the first place where you come and just try to see, okay, what's going on with this particular data. So this is very powerful. Make sure that you enable that feature flag as soon as you access the system or get access of your system. That feature flag is your friend for sure. Any questions so far? Okay, no questions. Good. Now we have seen this demo with a simple ASP.NET application, but as I mentioned, Sitecore CDP and Personalize are kind of a generic products that can be easily integrated with any platform, and Sitecore integration can be done easily. I'll not reinvent the wheel, but there is a nice video already done by Sitecore team on the Sitecore Discover channel. So I'd recommend you to go through that. It provides you a step-by-step guide to configure your Sitecore CDP and Personalize with the SXA and MVC website. Basically, in the SXA, you use the HTML snippet at the main site level and then ingest that, like provide that JavaScript, and you should be good. But yeah, this video is very nice, which will explain you how that works. Now let's look at it high level, like at a kind of a broader level, because we have been talking a lot about CDP, but how this fits into the overall architecture. So this is an example architecture diagram where you will have your Sitecore XM, obviously, because it doesn't make sense to go with Sitecore XP because you're not going to leverage those features of XP. So it's good to move to Sitecore XM. And obviously, if you use Sitecore XM, you are also future ready because Sitecore SaaS platform, the XM cloud, is going to be supporting all the XM features. And then you can also build your solution with the headless architecture. But again, that's a separate topic. We'll not go into that. But you have the XM, and then you publish the data to your Experience Edge for XM. Then you have your commerce product, and then you also have your CMP and DAM and PCM configuration and publishing it to Sitecore Experience Edge. And then CDP, with the green boxes indicates the CDP and personalized integration, where you can have the CDP code, CDP interaction here, here, and here. And then all the channel integration will ingest the data to Sitecore CDP system. These are the few resources I'd like to share with you. Again, Sitecore Discover channel has a lot of videos done by Sitecore team. So I would request you to go through that. And there are a lot of community contributions. I also have one mind map, which will help you because we all are kind of more of a visual people. So this mind map, when you open that, it will load the overall visual representation of Sitecore CDP and personalized topics. And then you can click on any of that and learn more about it. It also has an external link which you can click, and then that will open the overall learning path for you. And as I mentioned, when you share a screen, somehow system knows that you are in a hurry and then it tries to go slow. I'll share kind of a picture I had somewhere. Yeah, this one. So this is kind of an Sitecore CDP and personalized learning mind map. So there are various concepts like customer experiences, decisioning. So you can open that mind map, and obviously if you like to learn something, you can just look at that, just have high level. And obviously if you like to go deeper into some concept, you can click on the small Sitecore icon link, which will open that link into Sitecore's website, just to make your learning experience smoother. So once you click on the link, it will open the. So yeah, and again, if you have any feedback, let's say, hey, I think this topic is missing or something like that, just there's a way to contribute that on GitHub as well. So you can just contribute that, and I'll try to merge that change into the main diagram. But yeah, that's the one resource which I try to share with you to make your learning journey simple. Yeah, that's it from my side, and we also are on the time. Like I wanted to have 15 minutes for discussion because I don't want to kind of dump all the data and then just go and disappear. Like to have an opportunity for you to ask the question, and then would like to make sure that you are clear with the today's topic. As I mentioned, if you have a lot of questions about personalized or segmentation, hold those for now because there are upcoming sessions happening throughout the September to discuss those in details. Yeah, over to you, Kushbu and team. And if you have any questions, you can type in the chat or you can unmute yourself and ask directly.
Yeah, so if you want to discuss anything with Kiran, please drop a message in chat window. I can allow you to unmute yourself. Or if you have any question later during the day or any time, you can drop a message to us or Kiran directly. We will surely try to answer your questions.
Sure. Let me see if there are any questions. Okay, thanks, Hetal. Thanks, Balaji, for the comment. Yeah, it looks like there are no questions. So yeah, thank you everyone for spending your 45 minutes of your time on the Friday evening for India and then Friday morning for US. I appreciate, hope it added value in your life. Looking forward for the next session. And then till then, if you have any questions, you can reach out to me via various channels I'm available on. And again, oh, I see now question.
Yeah, there are two questions.
Okay, it's good. So I'll go with the first question. How is it easy to configure with JSS? Yeah, that's a good question. And I have a demo for you with working in the. So I'm not sure how many of you have seen the Sitecore demo Edge repository. So Sitecore demo team has come up with the Sitecore demo Edge repository, which provides an example, the Composable DXP products example. It includes all the products, and then CDP and personalize also integrated with that, with Next.js and everything. So if you would like to see how this is integrated, I would strongly recommend you to review the Sitecore demo Edge repo, and I'll share the URL. In the chat, so you can view that. But I'll show your demo as well, because glad you asked the question. So when you open the Play Summit demo, the website, it will start ingesting the data in the backend system. So if I log into this, because this is connected to our horizontal sandbox, and it will start showing me the data into the system. Yeah, so data is getting ingested here, and I'll plan in the next session. I'll just show end-to-end demo from the Play Summit, ingesting the data. And this is the JSS-based site, ingesting the data at the same time. Let's say currently I am on this particular home. You can look at this home page, a hero banner. It shows this adventurous menu. But now if I go to a session and I am more of a health person. If I go back to home page, it will change my hero banner to health. And this is all happening using Sitecore Personalize. And we'll show the demo in the upcoming sessions using this Play Summit website. That answers your question, Mahendra. You have any more questions? I'll accept silence as acceptance. Okay, so now I'll go through, again, Kushbu, let me know if I missed a question, but I'll go through the questions on my own. Is there an interaction between Sitecore Analytics and CDP? I don't think so. There is out of the box integration or interaction between Sitecore Analytics and CDP at this point of time. There is a question from Sandy. Have you worked with CDP in conjunction with Sitecore Discover? That's a good question. I have not worked directly, but when you click on the shop experience, this shop experience with the Play Summit has an integration with Sitecore Discover. So for example, if I type something, this experience is being done by Sitecore Discover. And then I know that it has done some integration with Sitecore Discover, because if you look at the repo, it shows that Sitecore Discover integration is done, but I not delve further into it. I would request that you spend some time configuring this using a demo portal, which is available to everyone now. And then you can just try to understand more. And obviously, if you have more questions, I'll also try to dig in and provide more information once I know more. Okay, so now I have a question from Amitabh. Thoughts on limiting Sitecore on XM and start integrating the personalize the first step towards Composable. So this, when you say thoughts on limiting Sitecore on XM, as I understand, you mean XP? Yeah, go ahead, Amitabh, you can speak.
Just a second.
If Kushbu allows you.
Yes.
He has all the controls.
Yeah, you can unmute yourself.
Thanks, Kushbu. Hey, Kiran, great talk again.
Thank you.
My question is, like, if we talk about almost 75% of the customers out there who are using the monolith Sitecore architecture on Sitecore Experience platform, 75% of those are using only the content operation side of the house, not using personalization, analytics, marketing automation, and forget about Cortex and so on and so forth. So the way the world is moving about the composable DXP, to move your, like we are on Sitecore SXA, to move the Sitecore SXA on XM cloud is going to be kind of a journey. We need to plan for that and so on and so forth. But as a next step forward, the way we are looking at it is we should reduce our Sitecore implementation from XM to XP, and then take a first step towards the Composable to integrate Sitecore Personalize and start using the Sitecore personalization side of the features, and then slowly move towards CDP and so on and so forth. And once we are at a place when we have planned it accordingly, then move our Sitecore XM to XM cloud. What are your thoughts on this? Is that the right approach, or?
Yes, that's right. You got it. Yeah, it's the right approach for sure. And that's what we are started recommending. Like with our new customers, we are not recommending XP anymore, because to be honest, like if we all have been like in Sitecore industry for like 10 years or so, and we all know like with XConnect works, it works, but when it doesn't work, it's hard to troubleshoot and then make it work. And at times it doesn't work as well. So with all those challenges, I think this Sitecore CDP, again, I have been doing a lot of sessions like since last 6 months learning. I never faced any issues. It just works. And that's what I think the technology should be. It should be just working rather than us troubleshooting how to make it work. So yeah, that's the way to go. Amit, you're right. You got it.
Excellent.
Yeah, good question. Awesome. And yeah, I'm seeing a lot of thanks. So yeah, so again, I appreciate, glad that you guys like the session, and again, looking forward to share more of my learnings in the upcoming sessions. But is there any more question? We still have 10 minutes. Is there anyone working on the Sitecore CDP project would like to share their learnings? We'll give 1 minute.
I have allowed participants to unmute themselves, so you can unmute yourself now.
Awesome. You all have freedom to speak now. Awesome.
I think we are good. Yep. So, Kiran, thank you for taking the time to join us today and share your knowledge with us. And thank you all thank you all for participating. And as Kiran mentioned, this is the first session of Sitecore Startup Basic series. And the second session on Sitecore Personalized Basic is planned on 9th September at 6 p.m. IST, 7:30 a.m. CT in Sitecore User Group Bangalore. So save the date and join us. And Brijesh has already mentioned about presenting in Sugin, but I would like to mention it again. If you are interested in sharing your knowledge with the community via webinar, reach out to us via LinkedIn, Twitter, any social media, and we would be happy to organize a session for you in Sugin. Thank you. Thank you all.
Awesome. Thanks, Sugin team. Thanks everyone for our 45 or 50 minutes. Have a nice weekend. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.